Carmentary, time to answer a couple questions and comments that I received recently on the old YouTuberoo. So this one is kind of dangerous to read while I drive here, but I got a comment from a new subscriber who has been binge watching, and I do appreciate the binge watch. I like that. Thanks for joining. And it was a question about the flat camber series of the Gentem sticks lineup, the TT160, 165, 168, the Slasher, and the new wider Slasher 2 just released this season. Why it's not a particular board you choose to ride. So, good question. I've talked about the Fish series recently. Maybe that's the video this comment was on, I believe. I talked about swallowtails, etc. I have the TT 168. I thought it was 169. Anyway, I have the longer TT board. I've had it for quite a few years, and I do ride it, but I do not ride it during the powder season. I always bring that board out in the spring. For me, that board is, it's an amazing board. It's like a rocket. That board goes so fast. And you know, it's like one of those amazing Japanese knives, you know, that you cut the sushi with, like the sushi knife, you know. That thing is just, it's got that pointed nose, and when you stand on top of it, you're just like, you know, I'm gonna slice it. But it's made for the professional. No, not professional. It's made for someone. You have to handle that board like you know what you're doing. It does not ride on autopilot without the sidecar. It's very little sidecar. Flat camber is amazing, but it's kind of for the more experienced rider. So I don't recommend it to just anyone. It's also a little more narrow in shape, and for me, it does not provide enough float to use it during the real powder season. Now, if it's a little bit like a spring powder, maybe in late March, you start getting that more spongy kind of packed powder, or, you know, it's a little heavier. Maybe it's only like 5 or 10 centimeters, but, you know, it's really carvy and maneuverable. I could see the TT being a lot of fun in those conditions. Yeah, it's never worked out. I never had the hands. Plus, a few years ago, I had the TT tuned up by the legendary Takeda-san, who is not with us anymore. And he did a great structure. He put a real beautiful structure pattern in it for the spring conditions. So that board, just by design, the flat camber in that shape goes extremely fast. And then with that structure, it goes even faster. So, yeah, that's kind of why I've sort of dedicated that board to late March and April. I also use it for the follow shots. Some of my more popular videos are the follow cams with Gentem rider Waji. And Waji was riding the TT at the time, and I like to ride the same board that the rider's riding because that's the best. You get the rhythm with that person perfect. And we did that for like 2 videos. And even later on, I think there was one where he rode a Speedmaster, or he rode one of the other boards, and I didn't have that board, and I still decided to go with the TT because, like, if you open it up, like if you point it fall line, I can guarantee that I can like catch up with anybody. Like, it goes that fast. So, you know, sometimes you lose the rhythm, or you make some maneuver, and I kind of get a little distance between me and the rider, and I want to like catch up quick. The TT is amazing for that. That is my feeling and my statement on the TT 169. I have not ridden the shorter version just because of my height and weight. I probably never would. The Slasher series, unfortunately, I can't speak to it because I've never ridden it. I would love to get the chance to ride that, in this new Slasher 2 that you mentioned in the comment there. Sounds really good. Now, there are guys who I know who ride the TT like that's their only board. There's some guys who have really old, like some of the original TT boards that came out like 20 years ago, and they're still riding them. Like they will not go to anything else, and it's sort of like a religion. It usually is people who are a little, you know, smaller, lighter riders. Japanese guys tend to, you know, they weigh like less than 60 kilos, and maybe their boot size is like a 25 and a half, and you know, that board, I'm sure, especially in like what we call sawachike, which is like little gullies in Hokkaido. We got a lot of these kind of little gullies, and that board is, you know, brilliant in that kind of terrain. When you have these tight little natural half pipes with, you know, you want to be able to like climb up the wall really easily, and then be able to, you know, that tail will come loose and you can, you know, make slashes or laybacks, whatever, with ease. I'm sure it's amazing. I know it's amazing. But yeah, it's just not the right size for me. So I don't know, maybe this new slasher, I don't know the specs on it, maybe this thing is bigger. Would be worth looking into. I will see what I can do. I'm gonna, now that I've been doing more of these talks about different boards and people have questions, and this is kind of, you know, we're getting a little forward motion here. I'm looking forward to trying other boards, talking to other people about the boards in much more detail. I think we can all go into a lot more detail nowadays, now that the general level of riding and understanding about board design and sort of the snow surfing style has grown so much, even in the last few years. We can all kind of get down into the weeds a little bit more and really talk about this stuff. It's kind of interesting and fun. So I'll be doing more of that in the future. Please stick with me. And remember to subscribe, like, and smash that notification bell. I never say that stuff, but I thought I'd just throw that in there. What else? I got some other comments. But yeah, that was the main one. I'll check and reply back on some comments again later in future videos, but that's where I'm at. Ooh, okay, final thing before I get to my house here. I have another board called the Cloudliner, and I had it for several years. It's like 5 or 6 years ago at least that I bought that board, and it was great, it was amazing, but I just never was able to pull it out and ride it that much. It was kind of, it felt big, it felt like it was maybe even too big. And this last season I put it into tune-up with Gaku, who I always talk about in Higashikawa. By the way, you can have boards tuned up by Gaku through the store, the Spray snowboard store. That's the name of the store, is Spray, in Asahikawa. If you go there and say, I want my board tuned up by Gaku, they will take it and they will give it to him, and he will do an amazing job. Anyway, he did a real number on my Cloudliner. Wow, unbelievable. It feels like the board is 10 centimeters shorter now. I swear, it's like loose and maneuverable, and even in like tight little sections, incredible. So, you know, I just want to reiterate again how important it is to get your board really tuned up. Not only the waxing for speed, but the grind and the detuning of the edges is so important. And I continue to learn and understand this every time, you know, and it's really interesting to ride a board that maybe hasn't been tuned up or had just a basic factory tune, ride it, understand it, then have it tuned up and go, wow, look at the difference. Like, the difference is really incredible. So I just want to reiterate that again, and I will talk more in depth about the Cloudliner in another video, because I think it warrants a whole chat in itself. It's quite an amazing board, and I think it's a really good one for the larger sized population. North Americans, Caucasian, whatever, basically non-Asian riders generally have, you know, a lot more body weight and size. So great board for those people, I gotta tell you. And really, I think no one ever talks about the Cloudliner. No one ever asked me about it, so we'll get to it. We'll talk about that one in more depth soon. In the meantime, drive safe.